So hello everybody, my name is Maria Rose Belding. I am the co-founder and executive director at the Means Database. I run the largest completely free food recovery operation in the United States. That's what we do. In essence, we built an online communications platform for emergency food providers and their donors. So in English, we built a website that lets food retailers, grocery stores, restaurants, farmers, folks who produce food in a professional setting, when they have excess, instead of throwing it away, they just come to us. They go to our app, they go on our website and say, okay, here's where I am, here's what I've got, here's when I need it gone by. And our system sends free automated text messages and or emails to all of the verified nonprofits nearby that have told us that they need those things. We have more than 3,000 nonprofit partners, and they represent many, many groups, including the logos that you see here. That's our donors, that's our recipients. We represent 12 different religions and denominations just from houses of worship, which is pretty exciting to be able to say. We also run the food recovery program for the entire state of Rhode Island. This is a very brief walkthrough of the way that Means works. So there you go, you got a restaurant who has excess. Here is everybody nearby who could need it. What we discovered growing up working in food pantries is these donors would try to call each of these places one by one, or they'd have to look up phone numbers and half of them were wrong, and they only have so much time. So they'd make it to, they tried the soup kitchen, nobody answered. They tried the church, it was the wrong number. They're out of time. They're completely out of time. They don't have anything left that they can do. They're just gonna have to toss it. So where we come in is Means contacts everybody at once on their behalf. And what that allows us to do, there we go. Sorry, having some issues here. Okay. So what that allows us to do is connect everybody in a community really, really quickly. And that offers two different benefits. So for our charities, that allows everybody to talk at once. Means it's completely free, no asterisk. It is not free up to a certain number. It's not free for a certain time frame. No, it is entirely, completely free. That's something that it sometimes takes us a long time to convince our nonprofit partners of, because they're so convinced that there's a sale somewhere. There isn't. Our entire staff comes from the world of emergency food. Everything that we do is meant to make the lives of those nonprofits just a little bit easier. It's truly free, the platform and the food donations. It also solves something that we've come to call donation dumping. I would ask to see a raise of hands, but because I'm sharing my screen, I can't actually see any of you. You know when a local grocery store or restaurant has some absurd item that they can't use and they just dump it? They just say, well, surely the food pantry will want it, and they rather unceremoniously deposit it upon that emergency food provider. That's something we see all the time. And often the organization donating that product that's useless is also donating financially, or they're providing other product that actually is helpful at the same time. So charities are in this position where they can't always be honest with their donor and say, hi, we can't use this, please don't give this to us. Means allows them to post it to the system and gently behind the scenes move it to another nonprofit in the community that actually can use it and needs it, without necessarily hurting the feelings of that donor. For the producers, we are rather unique. We are the only organization of our kind that does not charge our food donors for upfront costs. If they want, they can buy their tax data from us. That's it. They are completely not obligated to do that. We help them form their taxes. We help them get their taxes filled out for state, local, and federal deductions and credits. And then the other thing that's really nice is with Means, we may be contacting those notifications might go out to 30 organizations, but those notifications look like an Airbnb listing. We tell our nonprofits about a block radius of where they're going, so they know what direction they're going in, exactly how far, and what the item is. But until they claim it, the nonprofits don't get to see the actual address, the name of the donor, or the contact information. What that does is it allows us to be more than a glorified email list, because with our system, you won't have 3 different nonprofits see the post go up and go, I'm going to go get that, I'm going to go get it. And then the Panera has 3 angry nonprofits fighting it out in their lobby. Means is the first organization, for-profit or nonprofit, to create that system where not only is it going to charities who actively choose it, they tell us, I want this, we don't assign it to them. The producers don't get overwhelmed by constant people coming in. All right, let's see. There we go. Hopefully, there we go. All right, so this is a map of our growth over the last 5 years. So in still form, that's what that is. So we have about 3,000 nonprofit partners and food donors spread across 49 US states, DC, Canada, and as of last week, Iceland. By geography, this makes us the largest food recovery operation, for-profit or nonprofit, in the United States and now in North America. So far, since we opened nationally in 2015, we've moved 2.4 million pounds of food in an average of half an hour. So that half-hour time is the average between when a donor posts something to Means and when a recipient organization claims it and says, yes, I want that. That average truly is an average. There are parts around the US where it's 2 hours. In Rhode Island, it's currently 9 minutes. All right, here's our team. Very quick run through. There's me, there's Sammy, our Chief Operating Officer, Rachel and Julia, our project coordinators, Jen, who's our lead developer, Hannah. There's actually 12 of us. This is our day-to-day leadership. We are all still working. During COVID-19, we sent everybody to work from home. Everybody is getting paid, but we are doing all of our jobs completely remotely because we're seeing a huge spike in need from all these kids that normally would be getting National School Lunch Program, from all these hourly wage workers who are suddenly not being paid and whose employers chose not to keep them on the payroll or couldn't keep them on the payroll. So we are still up and running. This is just our quick little brag wall. These are all the places that, or some of the places that myself and Means have been featured over the years for our work. L'Oreal Paris Women of Worth, CNN Heroes, the Obama White House, still the coolest day of my life ever. We've gotten really lucky to have gotten some of the attention and press that we have to really help us spread the message of what we do. And that's why we're so large 5 years in. So our impact now, been over this already. We can skip it. All right, here's 2 very quick examples of the way that Means works. So in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, Philly Parks and Rec runs their summer food service program. For those who aren't familiar, that's the summer equivalent of free breakfast and lunch for food insecure kids at public parks, community centers, playgrounds, etc. The USDA ordering rules are interesting. And what's happening is Philadelphia has to order, every site has to order as many meals as they had children show up on their busiest day the previous summer. So what that means is normally, let's say there's 50 kids that show up at this particular park for meals. But one day there's a carnival in the park and 100 kids show up. So now for summer 2021, that site in Philly Parks and Rec has to purchase and prepare 100 meals, even though they know they're probably only gonna have 50 kids every single day of the summer. And that's a lot of food waste. It's a ton of food waste. And we love recovering summer food service program meals because they're truly meals. It's one of the only instances in which Means will actually say we recovered X number of meals, because it's truly a meal. It's truly a protein, a whole grain, at least one serving of fruit, at least one serving of vegetables, low fat or no fat milk. It's truly a meal, and it's much healthier fare than what exists in food recovery in many places. So thanks to our partnership with the group called Philly Food Connect, we've helped reroute about 10,000 of those meals all across Philadelphia. What's really interesting is the average meal travels less than half a mile to its ultimate home. The rules for summer food service programs say you can't feed the parents. And so what we see is these meals actually do end up going to these kids' moms and dads just down the street, because that's what these folks have to do to get around the USDA rules. So there is one of our programs. This is one of my all-time favorite stories to tell of what we do at Means. There's 40,000 pounds of Powerade due to a typo at a manufacturing facility. They were truly just going to dump it. They were going to dump it into the sewer. And instead they posted it to Means. So within about 2 hours, we had a recipient take it, a wonderful Ellie on Cloud 9. They serve individuals and their pets who live on Skid Row, or the very, very low rent, single occupancy hotels along Skid Row. And we actually got to see the photos. So these are photos of folks who got food from us. Powerade is the perfect example of a food that context is everything for its relative healthfulness. If you are somebody who is obese and sedentary and not diabetic, Powerade's not going to help you. That is not going to be helpful to you at all, unless you're diabetic and you're going to use it to rescue a low blood sugar. If you are somebody living in 90-degree heat all day outside in California in the summer, Powerade's great. It's perfect. That's one of the things that we always try to consider is what are the public health implications of the food that we're getting. We really only won't take soda, candy, and then things that Emerson says we can't take, like alcohol. Powerade is this perfect example of a food that could be harmful or could be extraordinarily helpful, all depending on the context of who it's serving. So the context of Means on campus. We have about a dozen college food pantries spread across the US using Means. Then we also have another 30 food recovery networks, CKPs, hybrids. With CKP closing, it seems some of these groups are kind of in flux, so some of them are TBD, but they do exist on Means, and we look forward to them being active again. It also allows us to start thwarting donation dumping, because what we were seeing is some campuses kind of saw their student food pantry as the perfect dumping ground for all of their leftovers from their dorm cafeteria or their dorm dining hall. And then we were just seeing huge waste in the pantries. And then that would cause administrators to go, well, if they're wasting this much, clearly students don't really need this. So it would reinforce this false narrative of a lack of need. So thankfully, with us existing as a tool, we've been able to start rerouting that off to organizations that actually can use it and store it and repurpose it in a way that most campus food pantries are not equipped to do. All right, so us during COVID-19, we're all still working, we're all remote. There are huge spikes in need like we talked about. This leads me to the last thing I want to talk to you guys about, and then I'm gonna stop talking, take some questions, and then hand it off so we can get closer back to our schedule. But we got a phone call from the Rhode Island Department of Health 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And they said, hi, we want to build something like Means. Can you tell us how you did it? And we said, I mean, yeah, but also you could just use it. Like, you don't need to rebuild it. We're totally happy to just let you use the system as it exists. And so they did. So now we have the Road to End Hunger, which is a partnership between us at Means, the Rhode Island Governor's Office, the State Restaurant Association, the State Tourism Board, and the Rhode Island Department of Health. It's been amazing. As I'm sure some of you are familiar, one of the biggest challenges in food recovery is reassuring your food donors that they're not going to get sued or they're not going to get in trouble. And because we're working with the health department, they actually were able to send out letters to every single registered food business in Rhode Island, telling them about Means, telling them about the Road to End Hunger, encouraging them to sign up, saying, no, you're not going to get in trouble with us. We want you to do this, with the health department's logo and signage. And that's been incredibly effective. that's been incredibly, incredibly effective. At this point, we truly have 100% of the emergency food programs that exist in Rhode Island. We have all 103, and we have another 50 donors who are actively posting every day or almost every day. And we know we've got even more that we can hold on to. What's happening now because of COVID-19 is we have all of these donors that we've already worked with before for years that now are shutting, or even if they're doing takeout only, they're ordering quantities nowhere near what the volume was before. So they've got all this food that's about to go bad. So our staff working remote all around the country, plus the Rhode Island Department of Health staff, is working to take all of that excess food, get it packaged into individual meals, and then safely distributed to seniors that were getting food from senior meal sites that are now closed, and getting paper bag lunches and dinners to kids that are dependent on NSLP. So it's a Herculean task. There are 6 of us just on my staff that are doing this all day, every day. There are another 6 at the Rhode Island Department of Health, and given that they're a Department of Health, they're already pretty underwater right now. But that's the biggest thing that we're seeing and that we're doing to put forth our best possible effort to be helpful right now. All right, so there is our contact information. It is hello@meansdatabase.org. I took our phone number off because our phone is locked in our office that is on lockdown due to confirmed COVID-19 case elsewhere in the building. So we can't get into our office to even get the phone. So stick to email for right now. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and take questions.